Hello, and welcome to season 2 of Skinterviews. You know, I still can't believe that we get to say that. Season 2 of Skinterviews. No matter how many episodes we're in, no matter how many episodes we've recorded, there is nothing quite like the feeling of being back in the studio with you, Nathan.
It's amazing. I love this feeling. It's good being in the studio again, and it's good to have a fresh new look as well.
I feel like we're a little rusty. Like I didn't even introduce myself. I am George Scandalis, and this sexy beast is my co-host, Nathan Strom. How's it going, Nathan?
I'm really good, George, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know this next guest a little bit more because it's someone that we didn't really know that well until the last couple of months when we approached her to come on the show.
Yeah, she's quite an interesting character, a very beautiful woman, very intelligent. And I love in her medical practice that she focuses on a 360-degree approach to health and wellness. And speaking of which, we should always talk about every episode that we are proudly sponsored by FullScript. And I've always got a quick note that I want to read because I don't want to get this wrong because they were kind enough to sponsor this full season for us. And FullScript is the ultimate platform for those that want to do wellness the right way, the personal way. It has the industry's most comprehensive catalog of 300 plus professional quality products, making safe supplements more accessible and most importantly, more affordable, and making personalized treatment plans from the doctor to the patient accessible and finally possible. There's no more guessing game. There's no going to your local drug mart and walking down the aisle and thinking that you need to take a supplement because your neighbor took one. This is the approach where doctors get to actually recommend based on science with their huge library of protocol and evidence-based science that they can pick the right supplementation and products from you. And they've got everything. I mean, they've got everything from vitamin C and vitamin D to arnica to protein shakes, and the list goes on and on and on. And you know what I love about them is that they are a virtual dispensary that integrates with all aspects of every single business. And it's easy to use and easy to recommend the right products to your patients safely, with a fixed protocol for what they're having done in your treatment clinic and their lifestyle. And that's what I like about them. For anybody that's interested to learn more about FullScript or to integrate FullScript into your practice, make sure to message us. You can always find us, of course, on Instagram at skin.terviews, Facebook at skin.terviews.com, and of course on our LinkedIn page and any other way you want to contact us. You want to send us an email, please go to our website because Skinterviews is brought to you also by the Revenue Doctors. And you can go to therevenuedoctors.com and look up at a way to inquire about further things on FullScript and Skinterviews. Wow, I got that all out of one breath. I'm getting good at it. I'm not that rusty after the summer. I'm still good at this. A few episodes in and we're going strong. I think that we've come to the point where we need to bring our guest in. She's waiting backstage. She looks radiant. She's wearing a purple blaze. I'm not even going to talk about the necklace that she's wearing. I mean, that's the kind of thing that the girl in Titanic almost jumped into the ocean to go find. That is like the clear diamond, heart of the ocean, but it's the Skinterviews diamond. That's what we're going to call it. So are we ready?
We are. I think we're ready.
Without further ado, please welcome to the show, Dr. Jennifer Pearlman from Toronto. Oh my God, every time that song plays, I want to keep going. Hello, Dr. Pearlman. How are you?
I'm so happy to be with you and so honored to be your first episode of your second season. Firstly, congrats to you guys.
Thank you so much. We are honored to have you on the show. You look absolutely radiant. I already told you that.
Thank you. I heard something about the Titanic. I hope I'm not jumping off that.
I'll tell you this much: if that's a real diamond, I'm jumping off the Titanic for it. I am.
These days, a lot of us have felt that we were aboard the Titanic over the last few weeks in the midst of quarantine when you and I first connected. So anyway, we're in a good stage here. I think we're all in Ontario, right? And we're in a good stage here. So it's nice to be with you in a good time, at least here in Toronto.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I hope that this is the first and last meeting of ours virtually, and slowly and surely we can do a meeting in person and enjoy a drink, and maybe even get a hug. Maybe a hug. Maybe a hug.
Okay.
A hug. The arms are 6
So
feet
is
long.
that like a 6 foot away hug, a 6 feet
A
distance
virtual
hug?
hug.
It's a stage
Virtual.
7 hug. Stage 7 hug. We still have a few more to
How
go.
many times I am a hugger. I didn't know we didn't cover that. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm a hugger. And the patients of mine that I've known a long time, I'm kind of used to like, how many times have you caught yourself and been like, COVID? No. I mean, I'm never a handshaker. Handshaking is the worst idea ever. Like long before COVID, I do not like shaking hands. So very happy to do a COVID salute. But hugs I miss.
Yeah, I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. And you know what else I've noticed through COVID? I touch my face 4 million times a
All the
day.
time.
I
I
never
know.
even noticed how much I touch my
I
face.
know.
And
And you've
people,
never felt guiltier about it
no,
either, right?
absolutely
Like every
not.
touch,
I
you
think the
think,
only
I
time I
know.
don't touch my face is when I have a mask on. So I purposely wear a mask extra long so that I'm not touching my face, because I refuse to touch the outside of a mask.
So let me
Anyway,
tell you how good I look when I'm working and I'm with my respirator and my shield. And how many times am I like, bling? So all the joys of the new normal. But I start my visit in 2 ways with some patients I've now seen many times, but for so many of my patients, I was the first person they saw outside their immediate family, which is, such a privilege, and something I cherish, that I'm so trusted. And so I start the visit in 2 ways. First, I say to them, we all missed each other. So welcome to the new normal. And that although the respirator and the shield and all the protective equipment, the PPE is a lot, my skin is definitely, a little more sensitive and reactive because of it. It's a small price to pay to reopen the city, the province, get our kids back in school. I don't know about you, George, but I know, Nathan, you've got kids.
Yes,
And
I do.
so, I think these are small prices to pay to get things going, and probably our new normal for a long time. And the second thing is just checking in because I want to make sure everyone's comfortable, comfortable with all the steps and measures we've taken. And everyone's different, right? And it's not something that may be obvious to me. So some of my older patients are very calm and, not at all worried about things. And some of my young patients, even without children, have been extraordinarily careful and are very anxious. And, needless to say, we have a lot of mental health issues amongst us, in society as a fallout from this time, huh?
we're going to get into that in the interview,
Yeah.
in the second half of the interview. But I want to start the interview. I always start every interview right back at the very beginning. Your first cry into this world, your first breath of oxygen. You enter this world and your parents named you. Was it always Jennifer Pearlman? Is that your married name, your maiden name? Is there a middle name? And is there any meaning behind your name? Lots of
Woo.
questions.
Okay. I was born on a Saturday night,
Okay.
Toronto. The year I was born, Jennifer was the most common name. So growing up, if you guys remember, like as a girl, there was the name stickers, the name stamp, the name T-shirts. I could never buy a Jennifer because they were always sold out. So that was Jennifer. Beth, my middle name, is actually after my mother's maiden name. So my mother's maiden name is Besserman, which in Yiddish means better man. I guess they're better. And Pearlman is my obviously my maiden name. It was my father's name. And the tie with my father to the Pearl MD, I had to drop the man because I see mostly women, right? Pearlman. And I was already a doctor when I got married, so I didn't take my husband's name. When I tell you what it was, you'll understand why. But my kids own that name, so can't trash it too much. But my dad actually grew up on the street of my clinic, which is crazy, huh?
Wow.
So my clinic is right at Yonge and St. Clair and backs onto a little street called Lawton. And my dad, at the time, it was the wrong side of the tracks. My dad was one of 5 kids. His dad died when they were very young. And so my grandmother's, as a single mom, raised these 5 children right behind my clinic. How crazy is that?
Wow.
I took you way back. I
That's
took you
amazing.
further back than
You
probably any
did.
other
You
guest.
did.
A few
Do you have
generations.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a younger brother who's a lawyer. His name's Shane, and we're very close.
Okay.
He looks like Ken. He's tall, dark, and handsome, and he has a beautiful wife. And I've got 2. I have a niece and a nephew. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Who was
family is everything, right? More than ever.
Who was mom and dad's favorite growing up? You or your brother?
If I say me, don't tell him. No, I'm joking. My brother, we were both good kids. I was a pretty good kid. Like, I never really got into too much trouble. My brother never did either, but like, maybe a little bit more with the drugs and alcohol kind of thing. No, both of us were really, I'd say that my parents looked at. We were both good kids, academically did really well. My brother's a lawyer. What more, like, for a Jewish parent, the mom, she's a doctor and a lawyer. Like, isn't that, at least then, that was every Jewish mother's dream, right? Which is perfect.
Absolutely.
But we're very close. I'm just joking. My parents did, I think, get exactly what they wanted in terms of their kids' careers. But more than ever, I would say what brought me, I've always been very close to my parents, but as a working mom with 2 kids of my own, like, I hate to say it this way, but the dependence on parents to just make your life work. I mean, my dad's like a fixture in my home. My mom is like a second mom to my kids. I mean, I could not do what I do without family and without like my parents being so involved in loving ways, but also just like the logistical management of 2 young children who are athletes and, school and transportation. And I think about that a lot because especially now, like TTC and Uber, we might second guess how we get our kids around exactly. And I'm so lucky to have my parents involved.
That's awesome.
It is so nice. And speaking of family, I want to take you back to when you and your brother were a little bit younger. What was something that brought you and your family together on the weekend, or something that you can remember doing as a family that brings back great memories?
I know you said, so weekends, I was a dancer. I remember being like pretty active. My brother too. We were like very much involved with sports, kind of separate sports. I did the kind of more traditional girl things. I danced, and my brother was quite active with sports as well. What I really remember though, growing up, like where we really had great family time, was in the summer. And every summer, one thing that I remember it being one of my best childhood memories actually was a week that we would spend away in like Muskoka at a lodge. And so my dad, I said, was one of 5. The girls went to New York to meet their husbands. Okay, so like my aunts. So I have cousins in New York, and we're a very close family. So 5 families would come together, all the cousins, and we rent this lodge, and like it's a crazy family. They're so funny. We'd have the best time. That's one of my best childhood memories. And so I didn't grow up with a cottage, that we would go to every weekend throughout the year, but we had this week. And I feel very blessed now, especially with everything going on, that to try to bring that experience to my kids. We are fortunate enough to have a family cottage, and my husband and I have, I guess the silver lining is that without all the activities for our kids on the weekend, we've been going every weekend, actually, every single weekend since I closed the clinic to in-clinic care, March 13th. Every weekend we've been there, a lot of extra time in the summer, and being in nature growing up. And my kids have the same thing. Their cousins are there. So that to me is my best memory.
I love that. So tell me your most memorable birthday growing up. Can you remember birthdays from when you were younger? And tell us about one that you remember and it was very memorable for you.
I'm gonna say the first thing that comes to my head, but I don't think what you think I'm gonna say. It was actually one of my worst experiences growing up.
Oh, no.
Because it's actually the birthday I remember most, and it did shape my life a lot. So it was my 7th birthday, and I remember my dress. Like, I remember everything about this day, and I don't remember much about any other birthday. Like, I mean, from being a young child, obviously. But I had the perfect birthday. My friends were there. It was my backyard at home. I had like lots of childhood friends, most of whom I'm still really close with. And like the cake, I remember how I wore my hair. I remember my neighbor up the street, my very good friend, wore the exact same dress as me. And then the very next day, my parents told me that they were getting divorced. And I remember it being the best day followed by the worst day. And it just is so vivid in my mind, like somehow everything about that day. And it was so hard because I had such a loving family, like even to that moment. And I think it was, so this is like the 80s, right? You know, it was a time where I did have a lot of friends whose parents were getting divorced. I was already kind of familiar with it. But it was really hard on me. And I think it forced me to grow up like really, really quick, because all of a sudden I took care of my entire family. Not in like, I had no major stress. I'm very lucky, but you know, when something like that happens as a young girl who's like seemingly everything was perfect, the dress, the neighbors, my friends, and then everything changed. And, you know, I think there were a few childhood moments that really shaped the person I am today, that being one. Within 3 months of that happening, my dad had a very serious heart attack and almost died. Wow. And I would say, being the young girl who just went through that and then almost lost her dad, who, as I told you, is still with me and a big part of my life. Oh my God, I'm going to hold back tears. I knew I was going to be a doctor and I was going to cure my dad. And I actually kind of, through a few twists and turns, did. Through my medical career and my dual career, I think I mentioned to you briefly, I have also had a career in finance. Yeah. And through those worlds, I'm fast forwarding from the age of 7, right, to, you know, my university years, when in my 20s, some technology started coming to market. I knew I wanted to be a doctor, not just that I wanted to be a cardiologist to cure my dad, and started researching the implantable defibrillators that were just being developed. Wow. Because I said my dad had a complicated heart attack, and it was actually the dilation of the heart that left him in such a dangerous position to at any moment have a arrhythmia that could kill him. And so as an undergrad, not a medical student, but as an undergrad student at McGill in my 20s, I was researching this and, you know, giving him articles to go take to his cardiologist to say he is a candidate and he qualifies for and needs the implantable cardiac defibrillators, ICDs. And he was saying this for about a year, and finally, I was already in medical school, it was my first year. He gets a phone call from his cardiologist, Shelley, I have something to, Shelley is my dad, Shelley, I have something to tell you. You know, we have a new technology and you qualify and we want to talk to you about it. My dad's like, I know, I've been telling you, my daughter's been saying I need this for a year and a half. So since that time, which it's about 20 years now, more than 20 years, on for sure one occasion, likely 2 others, he's had shocks, appropriate shocks, that have literally saved his life. And so, you know, I didn't become a cardiologist, which is another few twists and turns. I was set on that path, but I actually still achieved what really my goal was, which was to save my dad.
I love that. I love that. I love where you took us on that, but I still want to hang out a little bit in the childhood. I want to know who was your very first best friend, and are you friends with them today, or do you know where they are today? Ooh.
So I'm going to tell, there's, I think, 2 bits. My very first friend who met me on my birthday, like the day I was born, because our moms are best friend, is still one of my best friends. And I spent a lot of time at the cottage in the summer. Her cottage is nearby, so I just visited her last week. So I totally know where she is, and our lives are so different, but like I'm with her, and it's like even more than being with family, because like We have all the crazy, silly little girl stories. But every life phase, you know, the interesting thing is I actually went to school with her, but we had different friends. But she's like my sister from a different mother, but our mothers are like sisters.
Wow.
And so we have so much history together. Her name's Leah. I call her Leapy. Again, like all these. It's so funny as an adult. Like I still call her all my silly names, right? I make fun of her toes. She has like the ugliest toes ever. We still have all the same jokes. All the same jokes. And then I have another childhood best friend. I'm lucky. I have really close friends who is literally someone who knows every like little bit of my life, like every emotion and every little thing. And she is still, she's a dentist and very busy family, but she is a person who you could pick up the phone and call her because I don't get to see her as often as I like, and like nothing's changed. And having that, I think for a woman, particularly a woman in your life, who is like your, you know, person who can say the right thing, know the right thing, has all the history, is amazing. But the funny thing is, I call her, we have a secret name for each other. We call each other Biffo, best friend forever. But it's like a secret name so our other friends don't know that, you know. So my kids are like, is that Biffo? Is that Biffo? Like everyone calls her Biffo. It's really funny.
I hope your other friends are not watching the episode. I mean,
don't tell them. Don't bust our code.
So before I hand it off to Nathan, this is a question we asked all our season 1 guests, and we probably got some really incredible answers and some amazing stories to boot. And one of our doctors quoted our show as saying is that we took the mask off the doctors. So we want to get to know you in a personal way. And one of the questions we asked last season was, tell us a funny or embarrassing story of yours that you would want to share with us this season. We've had everything from arrests, bar fights, doctors peeing their pants, going number 2. We've had some pretty funny stuff. We've had, things they did as naughty kids. So I want to hear your story before I hand it off to Nathan.
An embarrassing moment. I mean, I have so many like little embarrassing moments. I have like so many silly things that I can think of recently. I hope I'm not still in childhood because I'm thinking of a childhood memory. I can't. But recently, like, oh my gosh, like 5 a day. In the last week, I have 2 hilarious stories. Like, I still will never live out these 2 with my kids, okay? So they will always have this one on me. So my elder son, who's 13, both my kids are really athletic. They're really into sports. My older son decides, like the whole story is a bit long, but just very quickly, he decides he wants to be a competitive golfer. He's been a hockey player. He gets into this through COVID. He's been doing all this coaching. In January, he puts on his wall, top 25 in Canada. I don't know if he'll kill me if I say this, but, he's got big dreams. So his first competition is 2 weeks ago, Monday, and I know like nothing about golf, not what the clubs are. He tells me, but I don't care. I don't know. It's not my thing. So of course, he wants me to caddy his first game. He has to teach me every club in the bag. I'm a good student. I memorize that. That's fine. He teaches me a little bit about the game, how to play. I don't really know the etiquette and the rules, but he teaches me a little bit. So there we are at the first hole, and he was a bit nervous. I'm good at the mental coaching, but the rest I don't know. So we're playing. Everything's going okay. We're on the 3rd hole. And his ball goes really far. Now I'm starting to get a bit about the rules. It's the first game of golf I've ever seen. I'm just watching him, making sure he's not nervous, not crying. And he was really nervous. So all the balls are out there. I'm running to find the ball with a broken golf cart. My crappy cart has a broken wheel. So here's me pushing the cart. And I think I see his ball because he taught me the coding that he uses on his ball, the type of ball, the brand of ball he's using. So I run over the ball. I'm like, Charlie, I found it. I picked up his ball. And Charlie's face. Oh. Disqualified. Thankfully, no one saw, and I put it right back where it was. But I would never have done that. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Total doorknob, right? Like you don't need to know the first rule of golf to know you don't touch the ball. Charlie, here's your ball.
Wow.
I was just so excited I found it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've heard a bit about your kids.
Do you have like 3 more days and I can tell you about?
So we've heard a little bit about you growing up and a little bit about your kids now. I want to know the real details about life at home with your partner. So who's the boss at home? Who wears the pants in your relationship?
That's a good question. I know you think I'm going to say me, and he would say me. I know he would. Like, we travel. I'm Pearlman. He's Moskowitz. That's his name. But
Sure.
so that's why I kept with Pearlman. But so we travel, the Pearlman family, that kind of thing. That's just because I do like all the booking and all that stuff. But you know what? I think life would be really easy if I wore the pants. I made all the decisions. Like, it was just up to me, and it's not like that. We are both extremely strong personalities. And I look back to the days of dating, and I know, like, I like strong men. I like men. It would be easy. I'm sure if you asked our wives, and I don't know how it is with each of you, do I get to turn the tables and ask you? Or doesn't work that way? Is that how it works in season 2? Like, can I ask you?
Anything's possible.
You can ask one question. Anything you want to know.
I want to know who wears the pants at home. Like, I want to know that.
I'm in shorts right now underneath.
Does that mean that she wore the pants and you wanted them back?
Well, no. He's at work, so he can't hear me right now. But right now I'm wearing shorts. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I wear the pants in my household, but my wife tells me which ones to wear.
Okay, that's a very good answer. I would say with my husband and I, it's not that we each have one leg in the pant, it's that we both wear the pants. And that can be challenging, George. So, but I look back, because, I like to think about decisions. Like, if I married a pushover that was sort of like a soft, do whatever I said, life would be really easy, but not interesting and fun. And my husband is not my opposite, and he is not my mirror. He is my complement. And, it's hard for kids. Like, life's really hard. He's an entrepreneur. He runs a business. In normal days, he'd be traveling all the time. Like, we're both really busy. And do I have juicy stories about all our date nights and things like that? I mean, it's hard, right? Especially these days with kids at home all the time.
Yeah.
I think there's weeks that go by where we haven't really spoken. But again, back to the idea of the cottage. We get to the cottage and, like, my whole family, everything about us changes. And I know it's like, I do feel so grateful to have that. But I think for all of us, no matter where you live, but especially in Canada, just to, like, get into nature. As a kid, we rented something for a week, and it was like lifetime memories. You asked me my childhood memory. I'm like, I've got to tell them about Port Cunnington and all the crazy years there. Like, you're just so much more relaxed there. And I think for our marriage and our relationship, just having, because we did used to go out for dates once a week before all this. Who knows when I'm going to be in a restaurant again or, like, going out again. But, just trying to carve out a little bit of time to remember it's not just logistics with your kids or fighting over, like, differences on parenting. Because when you're two strong-minded parents, you have a lot of different opinions, right? But when you kind of push all of that aside, like household management, kid management, all of that, and you're just like, what do I love about you? I kind of go back to, my husband's name's Brian, and that he's really, really a strong individual with, like, an amazing intuition, and he loves family so much. So, there's still really important things to me.
That is awesome.
We sometimes disagree.
So let's talk a little bit more about Brian. So was it love at first sight, or did you grow on each other?
It was not love at first sight, and I've told him this. And actually, my son actually just did a whole essay on how we met. And what I said to him is, the first date I had with Brian, we met, and it was like a coffee, like low risk kind of thing. So it was coffee, and it was okay. But then he's like, I have to go. I'm like, what do you mean you have to go? He had to go home. It was Friday, and so, like, the traditional dinner, Shabbat dinner. He had to go home because he was having Shabbat dinner, and his sister-in-law was making it for the first time. I'll never forget that. I'm like, but I love that. I had already had, you know, it's not like I had a lot of long relationships, but enough to like know that that really mattered. And you know what? I met him, the other part of that, I met him right after September 11. And, you know, if you think about like this as a pivotal time in history, like that for me, when that happened, you know, just the age I was, it was like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to be in a bar. I don't want men hitting on me. I don't want any of that. I just want to find the right person with the right values and settle down. Like, and I'm telling you, I met him in September 2001. Like I met him right after. So had I met him in August when I was in a different mindset, you know, maybe more the love at first sight kind of mindset. But when he left me at the first date, and then the other thing that really hooked me in was he invited me for Shabbat dinner. And again, you know, it's funny how my story's coming together for you, but I told you about the divorce of my parents being so what I loved about him was how close his family was, and his grandmother was still alive. I lost mine. I never met my grandfathers. My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, and I lost her when I was very young. And his grandmother was a very big part of their life, and I actually fell in love with her at first sight. Her name was Bubby Rose. So Bubby Rose was the most amazing woman. She lived to 103. Wow. Through my medical career, I actually worked at Baycrest and ended up taking care of her a little bit and actually visiting her. So we had a very close relationship. And between my two kids, so it's a long answer, but between my two kids, so I have Charlie and James, they're 2 and 10 months, I guess, apart. And in between, I had a miscarriage, which, you know, I'll talk about it openly, but she was one of the only people who knew. And she told me, she's like, God is looking after you, you're going to get pregnant again. And I did. And she was the first person, she was sick at the time. And she was the first person outside of like actually, I think just after our parents, before our siblings, we told Bubby Rose. And then she passed sadly at 103 during that pregnancy. Wow. And so my son, my little one, is named James Ross, which literally means, James has Hebrew origins. It means to go on for. And Ross is Latin for rose. So to go on. That's a great
story.
It's getting a little misty in here.
I love that story.
Don't you like my stories coming together? I told
they
you.
Are. They're all coming around in circles. So who made the first move? You or your husband?
I know I think you're meaning physically, but verbally me, because you guys know the big thing is the I love you, right?
Yeah.
So I so know when I planted it too. I so can picture it. It was, so I told you I met him September 2001. Yeah. And at the time I was actually working in finance. So I have a crazy story. I mean, like, let's get to the juicy part. Like, this is, Ryan's boring. That's why I married him. He's the family guy. But at the time, no, I'm joking. At the time I was working in finance and I had a crazy life. Like I was literally flying, meeting CEOs of healthcare companies, mostly like San Francisco, California, New York, traveling a lot. And there was a huge healthcare meeting every year, a finance healthcare meeting, where it's like the top CEOs of all the biotech companies and all the investors and bankers. And this is the heat of the .com biotech bubble. So this is where all the fancy, sexy money was. And so I'm at this meeting with the vice president of my firm. And because it was that important, he came along with me, showing him the ropes. And I was on the phone with him. I called him. So he was so happy I called him. I thought to call him while I was on this big trip. And I remember I planted I love you. And it was like really genuine. And we both I just remember that so well.
That's such a nice story.
I love that. All right, let's.
I think you had a different first move.
No, that was the first move we met. We don't ask kind of questions unless you want to divulge that kind of show, right?
Yeah. The other part I don't remember, because I think in true love it's like you come together, right?
Great answer.
Great answer.
What is your favorite movie?
I mean, I would say recently, I don't know. I'm so like not up to movies lately. So recently, I don't know. But it's so corny if I tell you, don't laugh.
No, I won't laugh. I love it. I already love it. I'm gonna watch it.
You've probably seen it. It's really old.
Okay.
Dirty Dancing.
Oh,
Dirty.
no one puts baby in the corner. No one does.
I love
love that movie.
That's a great movie.
I was a dancer. I told you I was a dancer. He's so sexy, and she's like, my name's Jennifer. Like, I just loved her. I loved her, and I was like her. Like, I was really shy, especially with guys growing up. Like, I was just shy and like not. I love her. I love that story so much, and
it's a great movie.
I remember it like. You know, how many movies have we seen lately? I don't remember much about them, but that movie, scene by scene, song by song, the dance moves, I remember it all.
It was a pivotal moment for a lot of people, that film.
Yeah.
If we were making a movie though today, and it is a movie about your life, which actress would you choose to play you? I have one in mind.
I do as well. I have one in mind.
Oh, wait. Okay, I want to know who you would pick first, Dr. Pearlman. Then we'll ask Nathan who you thinking.
I don't know. Like I don't really know if there's one woman that like actor that I think would portray the different personas of my life. But I can tell you the one actress that I get a lot of like, you look so much like whoever. But I don't know if you would ever pick this. So I promise I will not change what I'm going to tell you. But before I tell you, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say?
Yeah, well, I'm pointing to George and you. I want to know. Okay, you go first, George.
I was going to say Julia Roberts.
Ooh, I'm a cross between Julia Roberts and what's the other one? Miss Congeniality.
Sandra Bullock.
Oh, I
yeah.
love them both.
Pick one of the two.
Okay, thank you. I love them both. Do you want to? I always get this, but I've got to explain my hair situation to you to understand it. So I always get Minnie Driver.
Really?
Yeah, but my hair is normally curly, like it's curly, right?
Okay.
So I think with the curls, I really have very curly hair.
I get it.
I used to get it done every week, but I got my hair done for you guys.
Yeah!
Because I've got really used to my curls. I call them my COVID curls, and I've been wearing my hair all curly because like the hair salons were closed, and then who wanted to go? But I went for you. Got my straight hair.
We love that.
We appreciate that. And so let's talk a little bit of business now, because we should talk a little bit of work.
Sure.
We should. We're having a lot of fun, but like I have to be the Debbie Downer and talk a little bit about work. We work in such an amazing industry, Dr. Pearlman, and I want to know why you think it's such a great industry. What do you think makes this industry so wonderful to work in?
Well, I think this is true for most doctors, which is that, and I genuinely believe this, I work extraordinarily hard, harder than most normal people, but I have not worked a day in my life in the sense that I love what I do. I love what I do. And the older I am, I just celebrated a birthday, by the way. So the older I am, the harder I work, the longer I've been growing and managing and running my business, the more I understand it's passion and people that make me do what I do, that fire me up. I have a lot of energy, like God gifted me more energy than I can use, so that helps. Like I do have this fire, but if you look at it as a business or a job, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like it's not, you're not cut out for this, right? Yeah. But beyond that, beyond it being very rewarding, the kind of work I do, and as you already kind of discussed in the intro, I have a holistic health practice, a women's health practice, and I have a cosmetic medical clinic. And I've got to get into the journey of, well, how did I do all these things? Because I really see 3 pillars to the business I operate: the women's holistic health, the cosmetic medical, and then the entrepreneurial innovative business, right? There's 3 pillars. And I love that having an MD attached to my name is a license, obviously, to prescribe, to diagnose, to treat, to prescribe. but also to build a career that is varied in scope, varied in the sense that medicine's always changing, and also it's a people business. I love people, and it means that even if you did the same type of medicine, all day, every day, it's always different because we are so unique as individuals. So I love the scope that comes along with being a physician. And I wouldn't have known that in medical school. But as I already told you, I went to medical school 100% knowing that I was going to be a cardiologist to save my dad. So the question you want to ask me is, well, how'd you end up doing this? Don't ask.
What is your favorite condition to treat or your favorite procedure to do in your clinic?
I'm assuming you mean cosmetic.
Yes.
Yes, cosmetically.
But I'm gonna give you a second answer for the health, because I think there's an avatar for both. So I'm gonna give you the whole avatar as opposed to condition.
I want your
favorite thing to do is to see someone who is in their mid-40s type range, again, plus minus.
Yep.
A woman who's had their kids and just invested every ounce of energy, life, blood, sweat, tears, face, body, vagina, everything to those children. And finally, she has a moment to think, what can I do?
Yeah.
And maybe even some disposable income to say, I'm going to prioritize and invest in myself. And I say that because it's not a luxury anymore. It's just, a stage of life and a moment in time where you do have that time and financial flexibility to invest in yourself. And she comes and she may not know. I do see, obviously, like all of us, we see the ones who are like this, but it's sort of like, huh. And then I sit with her and I educate her, and we talk about how and why her face is aging. And it's not just about the age-related changes she's seeing, but also her unique anatomy, her skin type, her facial structure, her asymmetries, right? The imbalances that she always saw, like, even in her 20s at the prime of youth and beauty. So it's a combination of things, obviously, that we're going to talk about. So you guys know well, of course, skin health, injectable treatments, technology treatments, but I am so fortunate, we are so fortunate that without a scalpel in my practice, there is almost nothing we can't achieve for skin, face, and body. And you just take her on that journey. And I take a lot of time because for me, it's a relationship. And I am wholly invested in the wow, in the experience and this phenomenal outcome, and seeing her come back more confident and all aspects of her life just clicking along.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And we recommend to anybody that's watching Skinterviews today, we recommend you to seek out Dr. Pearlman. And of course, as you can see on the screen right now, we have different ways that you can contact her. If you're on Facebook, you can find her at Dr. J. Pearlman, or on LinkedIn, Dr. Jennifer Pearlman, MD. Of course, go to her website. You'll learn a lot more about everything they have offered there at pearlrejuvenation.com. And if you are in one of those stages with COVID where you want to pick up a few items, you may want a consultation, you may want an inquiry, you can always go to the e-commerce shop as well, which is right there set up for you with tons of integration for you to feel comfortable at shop.pearlrejuvenation.com. Did I get it all right?
Yeah, but you know what? You missed probably the channel that we use the most. Is that
Instagram.
Right
Instagram?
there.
Yeah. Instagram at PearlMD Rejuvenation. And you know what I love about this clinic is that if you send a direct message, if you ask a question, they're quick to respond to you, quick to take care of your concerns. And it sucks for me because even though I know they take care of men, it really is a holistic wellness approach for females. It is designed for you with your life in mind, with your care in mind, with your hormones, with your skin, with your life choices, your habits, everything is designed in there in mind. And that's one of the things I really, really like about you, Dr. Pearlman. I want to stay on, we're going to stay one more business question because I always ask this to my guests.
But George, just so you know, you can't, I think you're trying to sneak out the door there, but I do see Men for Beauty, and I'd be happy to.
I know.
We can take care of some of those things.
I know. You look at that. Yeah. You see that?
I know. I see lots of guys. Yeah.
I want to get rid of my frown, but
only women.
I want to get rid of my frown, but then Nathan won't know when I'm pissed off at him.
No, but I'm good at that. I see actors like we can let you emote, but still look good, and you do look good. We'll make you look great.
I'm gonna come in and we're gonna film it live. Done. Okay. One question before I hand you off to Nathan to talk about mental health, because through his 11s, you can tell about what he's feeling. But if we were to ask your staff one positive thing about you and one negative thing about you, what do you think they'd say?
I think the positive thing is that they know I love them. I think like not a lot of staff would say in like a good way. My boss loves me, but I know them and I love them. Like they're my Pearl family. We talk like that. We celebrate birthdays. I mean, obviously with COVID, we have a really strong team culture, and we have something very special. It's not for everyone, and in our hiring process is like really stringent, and we're looking for the right people. But my people, my Pearl girls, they all are girls. No, like there's love, and I think that's probably the most important thing, because with that comes all the other things you would want from an employer, right? A career track, someone invested you, someone who understands, someone who pushes you when you need that, all of those things. What's the negative? I think you'd have to ask them, because they probably don't tell me. But I know I definitely, like I run a tight ship. And when I have a lot going on, I totally have a lot of energy. And, you know, sometimes like it's not for everyone, but like keep up, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, right. I love that.
Yeah.
So
that's a good negative to have.
It is a good negative to have.
Yeah, I guess, you know, if it's not for them, it's not the right job, right? But I will say, my lovely Nadia, who you just saw a moment ago as we were getting ready, I just make sure that my team we all balance each other. And just like my marriage, I didn't marry my twin. And I didn't marry I married the perfect complement. And same with my staff. Like even within them as a team, you know, they're very different personalities, which in some ways can make it more difficult, but it makes us a high performing team. So I have the soft, I have the organized, I have the hard in the right ways, you know, and I think as I try to run the business, hard on business, soft on people. And I really believe in that.
Awesome. Speaking of personalities, this is going to be my last serious question of the night, and then we're going to have some fun. I'm going to pass it over to George, and we're going to have
We haven't had fun yet?
Well, we're going to have more fun. We're having lots of fun, but we're going to have some serious fun when I pass it over to George. So when it comes to mental health and different personalities and things like we're going through at the moment, how do we as a community support and help each other through mental health issues, in your opinion?
Well, first, I think one of the biggest fallouts of COVID are the indirect health consequences. I've already shared with you, I was a bride-to-be a frontline health worker through SARS, much deadlier. I was pregnant frontline health worker through H1N1 when pregnant women were dying. And again, scarier in the sense that influenza H1N1 kills us, young, healthy adults. Well, I'm not young anymore, but I was then. Whereas this is a relatively mild virus. It is a virus that does target those who are a little more susceptible. So I think when we look at the consequences on society, the economic, the societal, the healthcare, and particularly the mental health, it is mind-blowing. I mean, I talk to women all day, parents, you know, and you too, like, the dilemma of, well, what are we going to do with our kids in September? I mean, there's so much wrapped around this situation compared to the biologic threat in itself, right? So just to grasp that, the mental health cost of our situation is huge. And the fact that there's no end button, it's not going to be a vaccine, there's no biologic endpoint to our new normal. We have a virus that's endemic, which means mental health issues are far more endemic, means everywhere. And I think for those who had pre-existing susceptibilities, like maybe you're kind of anxious or a little low mood or tended to particularly stress-induced depression, this is really difficult. And then for those who have lifestyle situations, life factors, maybe you live alone, maybe you are one of these high risks, so you've been extra vigilant. Maybe you are an essential worker and you haven't been afforded all the protections of those that have been fortunate enough to work at home. The list goes on, but I would say particularly for women, I just wanted, on the mental health question, this is really important. And I know you guys are your dad, but this is a women's pandemic. Women outstrip men in terms of playing the role of primary caregiver, home teacher, homeschooling, and more likely to be in a job that was either laid off, furloughed, or hit by our economic reality. Women also are much more likely to internalize stress and have mental health consequences in the way of anxiety and depression. So that is, to me, something I'm seeing so much. We closed the clinic to in-clinic care on March 13th, Friday the 13th, of course. By the Monday, we were operating on a virtual health platform. And for 3 months, it was a lot of mental health counseling and coaching. Yeah. And so, for me, we're all different. We're all wired differently. But I know for me, I'll say the three protective mechanisms that I guess I inherently have always used. And I've taught to my children because it's super simple and I can share it with patients. Do you want me to share it?
I would love to hear it, yes.
CGO, my CGOs. So my elder son, who's a bit emotional, and he, just CGOs. Connections. More than ever, this time has made us realize it is the who in our lives that matter more than the what. The connections, the deep connections, and we need to hold on to those like roots in the ground. They root us, they're there to support us. Like roots, they feed us with what we need. And so I talked a little bit about friendships and my family, and I'm blessed, but it's not quantity, it's quality. And I think more than ever we need to think about the who. The G is gratitude. I mean, all of us are living here in Canada, and we're like a light amongst the nations of the world and how we fared. So I've been so grateful to be Canadian. I'm so grateful for the things I have in my life. I have not worried. I've worried about a lot of things through the pandemic, but I've not worried about a shelter or roof over my family's head. Food, although it was a bit of logistical management, getting it for several weeks, food in my fridge. I've not worried about these things, and I have so much to be grateful for. I mentioned I'm the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor, and I think about her story of survival, which is extraordinary. And, I have that in my DNA, and it has propelled me forward because we have so many luxuries, obviously, in our time, in our country, in our world, that many others don't have now and certainly didn't have then. And the O is optimism. And, for me, hope, I don't know why I'm like that. I'm a real optimist, but I'm a realist as well. And I think that message is really important. Yes, be hopeful, be optimistic, but more than ever, be informed. Like, understand the reality, because blind hope won't get you anywhere, but masks and, PPE and planning will. And so just as an example, in March 13th, I closed the clinic. March 16th, we're up and running on our virtual health platform because preparedness had been put in place and I could flip the button and make that go live. And the next week, the state of emergency was called. And following that, in our province, in Ontario, and following that, I began to source the equipment I would need to open the clinic. And just last month, we had the delivery of the only 20 units in North America of Panasonic's Nano X technology that literally kills and inactivates COVID, sterilizes from the air and surfaces the bacteria and virus and fungi and molds and odors in our environment, including SARS-CoV-2, which, as you know, is COVID. Right. So I believe that when I say optimism, part of that is this proactive approach, that not blind optimism, but a strategy, a vision, innovation, planning, preparedness that frankly had our educators and our political leaders and more of our institutions been thinking about through our shutdown, we wouldn't quite be in the, predicament we are now.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that CGO. I'm going to take that and use it. Yeah.
It's kid friendly. And you know what's funny? I realize, because as I say, I have 2 boys, and my big boy, I call him like he's a super feeler. He feels things in a very adult way, but is a child in his, sort of emotional response. And he's 13 now, so don't tell him I called him a child. But I've used it with him at a young age.
Yeah.
And what I realize is when we're dealing with adults, we are all working with our primitive brain, right? The fight flight is a primitive brain. Yeah. It's beneath the cognitive, the masterful, the superhuman brain, the frontal part of our brain that allows us to think things through, to use mindfulness, planning. So the more we are in our primitive brain, the fight flight emotional brain, we are bypassing our ability to plan and prepare and redirect our thoughts to gratitude thoughts or these other things. So when I'm dealing with adults, I'm actually still dealing with a child, and CGO is like the most they can handle. I mean, slowly we can get to more. I have other tools, but it just makes sense and it works. And it doesn't matter who you are, but you can find someone to be connected to. You can find something to be grateful about and some glimmer of hope.
Love that.
I love that. We are at the point of our interview where we do the quick fire question. So these are surprise questions. You haven't heard them before. We are going to ask you a question, and you have to give me the fastest answer that comes to mind.
Done.
All right. What's your favorite thing in your closet right now?
I think I'm wearing it. I wore it for you. My Pearlman lavender blazer.
It's beautiful.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
100% dark. Like meaning 100% dark.
Ooh. What's your guilty food pleasure?
100% dark chocolate.
Okay. If you could be from any other decade or era, which would it be?
My first thought was the 70s. I don't know why.
Okay. French fries or potato chips? French fries or potato chips?
Neither.
White or whole wheat?
Neither.
Do you prefer texting or talking?
Depends who.
Ooh. One superpower. What is it?
Intuition.
Any tattoos?
Never.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
You're going to a fashion event of the year. Which designer is dressing you?
Chanel.
Intimacy or 100% dark chocolate?
Intimacy with who? No, just joking.
Last question. Place you haven't traveled to but is on your bucket list?
St. Bart's.
Beautiful.
Wait, I should just say though, my bucket list is like really, really long.
Here's mine. St. Bart's is outstanding. You have to go. I'll tell you about it when we're off the air.
Let's go. Let's go. Not now, but let's go.
I'm in. Totally. Last question. You get to have dinner with God, and you are granted one question. What would you ask?
Will my children be happy?
Oh. With a mom like you, I'm certain.
100%.
I'm certain. That was the perfect way to end the interview. I'm not even going to ask you, Nathan or me, which is usually what I do. That is the best way I could end that series of questions. We've got 2 more questions for you before we close, but I'm certain they're going to be happy. And I actually got misty there for real. That one really got me.
Yeah, it's been an amazing interview. I've got two last questions before we round it up. What's your current skincare routine at the moment?
Sorry, miss that.
Your current skincare routine at the moment?
All Pearl skincare, and I'm not joking. Like,
awesome.
Just keeping my skin all fully treated is breaking the bank. Like, I use everything I make, and my patients know that. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. So I'll tell you, I use a retinol. With Masni, I'm so sensitive now, so I can use it once a week.
Yeah.
I have melasma, but I know you can't perhaps see very well my skin, but I have not one speck of pigment on my skin because of skincare. And it, like, literally for me, I have solved my melasma with continued use of retinols and Arbutin. And so I have a proprietary product we actually compounded that mixes vitamin C, vitamin E, ferulic, so CEF, with retinol and Arbutin. It's called our Clarity Cream, and it is like the best thing. So you should have asked me skincare or intimacy.
I would go for the skincare too. Don't worry.
I'm still thinking about the 100% dark chocolate.
And the last question before we wrap it up tonight. Who would you recommend for us to interview next? One of your colleagues out there that you would like to see on the show?
Well, I would say the person that I have so much admiration for and respect so much, you've already interviewed. Her name is Doris Day, and I just want to give a shout out to her because
we love her,
I met her years ago, and she's like a sister. I used to have play dates with her in New York and visit her clinic and work with her for a day, and her husband. So she is like a soulmate of mine, and also a role model. And she's really amazing. I think she's a very different persona, and I know now she's big time with her Netflix show, but someone else who's really an extraordinary woman is Dr. Sheila Nazarian.
She's amazing.
She's on your list.
Yeah.
Can
you help us with that?
What's that?
Could you help us with that? Yeah, we would love to get her on the show. She's amazing. Her new Netflix show's off the hooks.
Yeah, and she's amazing. And I'm going to tell you one thing about her because I think the model surgeon is her hashtag, but the word model is really because she is a role model. And she's all the things I just described, right? She's a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur. She's very entrepreneurial. She's a surgeon. I mean, she's really great. And a fashionista. So we always like that.
I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pearlman. Honestly, you've taken us through every single emotion through this interview. It's just so amazing to meet people like you. As I said at the start of the interview, I'd only got to know you over the last couple of months when we've been talking about this interview, but tonight was so amazing to get to know you even more. And you know what? I can't wait till things settle down a little bit and we can catch up and have a nice cocktail somewhere in the Toronto area and talk more.
St. Bart's.
Yes, that could be even better. And we can talk more about what we talked about tonight. But I'm going to hand it over to George to close the show now.
I want to say a massive thank you to you, Dr. Pearlman. I felt so many different emotions listening to you tonight. I went from laughing to almost crying, and I guess I'm on high emotional alert with all the stuff going on with COVID and the isolation and trying to get back to a new normal. And I love how personable you are, how easy it is to connect to somebody who has that much success in their life but still feels all the same emotions that so many other women and mothers feel out there. And I love that about you. And I hope that people see this interview and have gotten to know you a little bit better in a more personal way and will come to the clinic and actually get to know you in a one-on-one, face-to-face environment. I will be one of those people. I promise to bring you 100% dark chocolate. All right.
Yes.
And just again, a massive thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. I knew we'd hit it off because of our few conversations and not knowing any of your questions. But no, it was really great. This was lots of fun, lots of success to you guys. And I'll just give you a little bit of, I don't think you guys know this yet, but Monday, like 2 days ago, we opened up in Muskoka. So we're on Lake Rosso, we're in the SWS Manette Marina, and that's a place to be these days. So you can come visit me there.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. And congratulations to all the people working behind the scenes to make these things happen as well. So I'm going to shout out we're going to put you backstage because I don't want you to leave it. I want to catch up with you before we close the show. But I do want everybody to enjoy this quick video from our sponsors. And I will be right back to say goodbye. We'll see you, Dr. Pearlman. Thank you very much. Okay, full script. Now you want me to go get toast? Now you made me hungry, full script. So a massive thank you to Full Script, who is our proud sponsor of season 2. Also a big thank you, of course, to my co-host, who's probably backstage right now talking about me. And of course to Dr. Pearlman. And I want you guys from this episode to take away her advice on CGOs: connections, gratitude, and optimism. Always run your life with that. Look at your connections, look at your gratitude, and look at your optimism. And we are getting through all of this together. We're in a very different stage of life than we were when we started season 1, and we're here with season 2, and we get to see the different points that we're all going through, and we are experiencing this on a global level. And here in Toronto, where I am, where my home is, I see a lot of the struggles that a lot of people are going through, both in their professional life and their personal life, to get through this and to really cope with the new normal. So let's keep that in mind with what Dr. Pearlman said: CGOs, connections, gratitude, and optimism. Take care of your skin. Thank you for watching. Make sure to reach out to us at skin.terviews on Instagram or on LinkedIn, which is Skinterviews by Nathan and George, or facebook.com/skin.terviews. Send us a message. Let us know who you'd like to see on the show. If you have a quick fire question you want us to ask one of our guests, send it in. If you like to see somebody specific on our show, send it in. If you find out that maybe someone you know is going to be on the show, like let's say your staff, and you want to ask your boss a question, but you don't want to be the one to ask it, you want us to ask it, hey, we're here for you, and we will ask it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, evening, and good night, and we'll see you on the next episode of Skinterviews. Bye-bye.